Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Daughters of the Milky Way podcast. My name is Natalie. I'm here with my co host, Amy, and we have a beautiful guest, Victoria, calling from the UK. And we are so excited to be diving into the realms of manifestation, creation, and whatever else wants to come through in today's episode. Before we get started, I just want to orient you all or invite you all to take a moment in presence. And if you're driving, please do not close your eyes, continue as you are, but just take a moment to notice your breath. And if you're not operating a vehicle, we invite you to close your eyes. Just notice the quality of your breath. Just taking one deep breath collectively together, in through the nose, out through the mouth, giving you a moment to bring presence to this moment together. With our intention for you is to, whatever we discuss in this episode, may it be supportive for you in the best way for your highest good, and the highest good for all organic life. And so with that, I'm going to pass the mic to Amy, and you can introduce Victoria, and we can dive into the waters.
Well, thank you. Well, hello, Victoria Quance.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome to Daughters of the Milky Way.
Thank you so
what we like to start out with is just give us a little bio, and then also we kind of ask the first question of what you feel manifestation and creation is to you, and how it kind of started in your path.
Oh, fantastic questions. So let's start with the intro. So I am Victoria Quance, and I am a psycho-spiritual coach and predominantly focusing on manifestation. And I typically work with female founders and women who generally are over 35, because something interesting happens to how we manifest at that point, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But a psycho-spiritual coach is someone who blends psychology with spirituality. So my background is in psychology and education. I was actually an associate dean of a business school for over a decade. And I am also a practicing witch. So these are two things that are normally kept quite separate that I bring together, because I find that when we have the science and the strategy together with the soul work and the spiritual connection to the divine, that is when the real magic happens. But when it comes to manifestation and creation, I would say my journey started down I guess the traditional manifestation route. So looking at things like The Secret and the Law of Attraction, that was kind of like my intro, 25 years ago, I guess. But as time went on, I began to realize actually I'd been practicing witchcraft and, casting spells from my early teen years. That was also manifesting. And then when I started to bring in the scientific elements, this is where my perception almost shifted into what manifestation is, because I don't necessarily believe that we are creating something. I believe that there are limitless possibilities, and whatever it is that you desire already exists. So we're not necessarily having to create or build it. We're simply choosing it and aligning with that lifetime, which can sound bonkers and insane, but that is the kind of quantum and the quantum physics part of it. And that's the bit that I really, really focus in on.
Wow. Thank you. And I just wanted to point out that you have a book.
I do.
The Witch Way to Manifest. Can I tell you, this is a daily spiritual practice book.
Oh, I love that you've got Post-its in there as well.
I got Post-its in here. I mean,
I love that.
You make it so simple for people, and not simple in that way. Oh, it's whatever you make of it.
Yeah.
So what made you write this book for people? Because it's fantastic how you have it laid out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So the book is actually just turned 3. It popped up on my Facebook memory. So it's now 3 years old, which is gorgeous. And that's flown by as well. And it always makes me laugh because the picture on the cover is me with bright red hair. Yes. And I'm like, that feels like so long ago I had bright red hair. But yeah, it's 3 years ago. But I wrote the book initially. A lot of my clients were asking for a book because they were like, you have so many different practices and tools and things, like, is there anywhere we could have this all in one space? So they wanted a book format, but then also for people who were getting kind of not necessarily confused, but I guess conflicted with all the different like manifestation advice, and also like what is witchcraft and where does that kind of sit and what does that even mean? Like there's a lot of like misrepresentation, I think, around what that actually means and what it involves. So I wanted to almost bust some myths around what that entails and make it a really simple, easy format for people to either expand how they already work with manifestation or get started. And it's one of those books where you don't necessarily have to go cover to cover. Like I say to people a lot of the time, like just open it, just dip in and see what page comes to you, like what area like is meant for you at that time. And I still stand by like a lot of the processes and the practices in there, because I say in the book, you know, make these your own, because you have your own unique energetic signature. You have your own frequency. So what works for one person will work differently for another. So even though now the work I actually do with my clients is different in a sense, in a way it's more advanced, I guess, because we're working on a slightly higher level and working with deeper things that maybe one day will end up in a book as well. But everything that is in The Which Way to Manifest is still as relevant and applicable, because I encourage you to make it into your own practice.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Then I have to ask the question, who is Vix Marie and who is Victoria Quance? Because Vix Marie wrote the book.
She did indeed. And this is lovely because I know, Amy, you've like recently joined like my journey where I am. So you've only known me as Victoria Quance, right?
Right.
So but people are like, who is this chick that's wrote this book? What is going on? So my business has been through, gosh, I don't know how many evolutions over like the last 6 years. But when I wrote the book, my business brand was basically under Vix Marie. So my middle name is Marie. So everyone who knows me, like, they call me Vix. So Vix Marie became like my personal brand, if you like. And then when I got married last April, I had a whole debate as to whether I was going to change my name. And I was to and fro. And then I was like, but I don't want it to be any reflection of my relationship with my husband. But I was also very attached to my name and my identity as my maiden name. So this went on for some time. I was thinking about it before the wedding as well. And then I got to a point where I could feel almost like that Vix Marie version of me. She began to feel a little bit almost like an employee and like an older version of myself. And she was, you know, she was the founder. She was the chick that got everything started and, you know, put herself out there and faced all those fears and just did it anyway. But then Victoria Quance wanted to come through as the wife and the leader and the one who was then going to take the business to a new level that little Vix wasn't about to do. So I then went through like this rebrand. So changed my name, got married, and then rebranded, and yeah, Victoria Quance came out to play.
Oh, I love that.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, but I think if I do write another book, I might still do it as Vix Marie, just so there's like that continuity. But yeah, my brand now is under VQ, which is Victoria Quance.
It's so awesome because you were talking about with manifesting being like, you're not creating from like nothing. It's more like magnetizing to the version of you that's existing in that timeline. And that example is like a perfect way of how one's identity needs to shift too, because you can't just like, there needs to be an internal shift that occurs to be able to magnetize to that timeline, or to timeline jump into that experience that's already existing, that's creating that. And that is one way that one can do it. You feel it. You were like, can feel it, like you were feeling that shift happening, and you're just like, all right, I literally need to have a new identity in order to jump into this. And I'm curious because before you were talking about, like when you started with your intro, you were mentioning about the age 35, and I like tagged that when you said, I was like, I want to remember this. Go back to this question. I almost lost it because these questions are good, Amy. And I was like, wait, what was that question? So can you
remember this one?
I know. I was like, oh, thank God I came back. But Victoria, can you share tell us more about the what happens at 35? Yeah.
Yeah, loads of things happen at 35 if you're anything like me. But yeah, with the name thing, like that identity shift, like it's a lot for a lot of people, but it was almost like a grieving process as well, and leaving like that old identity behind to step into the next level version. And there's a quote somewhere, it's like, the next level version of you, or like the things that are coming up for you, like your current self isn't capable of holding them. So you have to become that new identity. And it relates to like your frequency and, your capacity to actually hold that. And I know where the business was going and where my life was going. Like Vix Marie wasn't going to be able to hold that, but Victoria Quance could. So yeah, highly recommend, not necessarily changing your name, but, getting married was one of my biggest manifestations. And one of the things that I thought maybe I was never actually going to achieve in my life was to find my lasting love. So when I did get married and becoming Victoria Quance, it was like the ultimate manifestation for me. I was like, there is nothing more now. Like that's the ultimate. So Victoria Quance was like the ultimate me, which is pretty cool.
That's so awesome.
But yeah, at 35, so I am now 38, but at 35, women especially, but this also does apply to any men who are listening. By the time we reach 35, we have experienced so much in our lives and so much conditioning, so many different behaviors, that our bodies have started to adopt this on autopilot. So we know that when we are like 0 to 7, we're like our little sponges and we absorb everything and we learn from those around us during that time. And then between like 7 and 34, you are still predominantly running from your unconscious mind. Mm-hmm. So we know the unconscious mind is about 95% of our brain power, if you like. 5% of our thoughts are conscious and we are aware of them. The other 95% we're not aware of. And during that time frame, that's the part that most of us, if we are intentionally working with manifestation, we start to do mindset work, or we start to look at, okay, well, what are my limiting beliefs? And we start to work on the mind and the psyche. It's like the psycho part of psycho-spiritual. So we start to do all of that. And we probably see there's some results to that. And, mindset work is incredibly powerful, incredibly helpful. But when you hit 35, your body has already learnt so much from your brain that it doesn't matter what your mind's doing, because your body is going to respond before your brain does, because it's been so conditioned. So at that point, you can still do the mindset stuff, but you probably find that you go round in circles, or you just keep finding more problems, but nothing in reality actually changes. And then we go, oh, okay, there's stuff happening biologically, like your body's changing also at 35, hormones are changing as well. And we then start to do more healing and like nervous system regulation. And we start to look more at the body and go, okay, well, what's my health doing? Like, I've only got this one body for this journey. So let's see what's going on. We become a little bit more health conscious, perhaps. But when we start to do that, we are also then just regulating back to what our body already feels is normal. And what it feels is normal is not what we want if we're trying to manifest something different. So then we're on this wheel. Yeah. And we're like, why is it not working? Like, it used to work in my 20s. Why can I no longer do this? And it's because your biology is now overriding your own unconscious mind. So we've got to deal with your body and your mind together, rather than one or the other, and without constantly repeating patterns, without constantly digging for problems, because then you create more, and without regulating backwards.
Yes.
So we need a whole different approach when we're at that point, because all those wonderful tools and techniques that were so simple to journal about and to have our affirmations and all these wonderful things, we could manifest in the blink of an eye, we now go, hang on a second, why is this not working anymore? And why can I not hold this level of success I've already achieved without either burning myself out or pretending and, putting on a different identity that's actually not me?
Yeah.
And that's where we need a different approach.
And so then my follow-up to that then is, because you do hear, I love it. I also have a background in psychology and the blending of psychology and spirituality. And so I love that, like what you're sharing about it. Yeah, I know. It's like, it just works. But so and I get really excited because a lot of people are talking about nervous system regulation, which is amazing because that is really, the type of psychology that I focus on with Gestalt therapy. So then that was like my therapeutic approach. And so it was very much looking at like the mind, the emotion, and the physical body, and nervous system regulation to we need that. Because we have that, like, our bodies respond to things as you're describing in a way before our minds even catching up. And sometimes people they're not aware that they're having a response because it is so automatic. And so when you have practices that help support the nervous system, you're also helping the body's like expansiveness. And so I'm curious, what are some, for a person who's listening in, who's like, this is great, but I'm past 35 now. So now what? Like, I've never done this. Like, do you have like any, and like, wait, so does it mean like I'm never going to manifest? Or, because I'm sure that could be some thoughts of people. Oh, great. I didn't do this before 35. So now it's too late. And I'm curious if there's anything that like, what are some like practices and some things that people can do to, allow their bodies to like enter into expansive state so that they're not going into the automatic feedback loop that occurs.
Yeah, for sure. Do not worry, it is not over at 35. We are not now. Well, that's it. I tried. Over. It's okay. I think it actually gets to be more fun at this point because I've actually found that it's quicker. So when it comes to nervous system regulation, your body's going to do it anyway. Your body's incredibly clever and intuitive, that's its job. But for me, nervous system regulation still absolutely has a place. And I was a healer before I was a coach. So for me, if you're not feeling yourself, nervous system regulation and healing is going to bring you back to your normal. And that is perfect if that is where you are. So please continue with your practices that help you feel that normal sense of being. But if you are wanting to expand, and by expansion, we're talking about becoming something that you've not experienced before, becoming someone you've not been before, or having something that you've not had before, or maybe you have, but you couldn't hold it. So maybe you had like a windfall of money and then it was like, okay, great. And then you just spent it all. Or, you've had great loves and great relationships, but then after like a year, they fizzle out. So we know you can receive it, but then it's holding it. And this is where it's like a capacity thing. We want to expand our capacity so that you can receive that and also hold it and then expand it without having to go through like double the effort just to get more of it again, because we're not here for that either. So one of my favorite tools and practices, and you don't even have to necessarily go into meditation for this. I do a lot of work in like the quantum realm. So I do a lot of like intergalactic almost kind of journeys, if you like. I'm a very cosmic witch. But you can simply think about the version of you who has already achieved whatever it is that you're working on at the moment. So if you think of one thing that you're working on, you've already got that thing, whatever it is. How do you feel to have that thing already? So whether you feel joy, whether you feel pride, whether you feel confident, whether you feel stability, love, whatever comes up for you, that is what is called your operating frequency. And effectively, that's the signal that you're broadcasting. So when we receive these things, we feel that certain way. And quite often people are sometimes disappointed because it's only a short-lived feeling. And they thought, well, I thought there was going to be like a fanfare and like balloons and champagne and all this celebration. And actually you just feel like a sense of pride for like 5 minutes. And then you're like, okay, what next? So sometimes people are like a little bit disappointed that it's not like this huge thing. But this is another thing that we want to be mindful of, and something that I think some traditional manifestation methods have taught us, that we really need to get into the feeling of having already manifested the desire. And that's great, but not if it's hysterical. Because the reality of achieving your desire is probably not hysterical. And also when we have that like really giddy like feeling, we create what's called a pendulum swing. And with the laws of the universe, if you have all this giddy excitement, hysteria, you have to have the polar opposite. As much as we have daylight and we have nighttime, you have to have the polar opposite. So really, we don't want the hysteria, but we want to look at the feelings as if we've already got the thing. We've got the stability, the confidence, the pride, the joy, perhaps the conviction and just the knowing and that strength. Yeah, I have this. And that's the frequency we want to operate from. So looking at that frequency, looking at this person, and sometimes I say to my clients, you know, if it feels like too far from you and where you are right now and what you can see in front of you, imagine this is a character in a book. So your character has just met the love of their life. How are they feeling? What's their day-to-day life like? But what decisions and actions are they making? And if you can make just one decision every day from that character, you will start to shift your frequency and you will start to expand your capacity. And I think it's really important to not necessarily do this really drastically, because that can also then send your nervous system a bit like, oh, this is different. Okay. So it's like climbing a mountain. You know, if we're going to go climb Everest, we're probably going to acclimatize ourselves first.
Yes.
And we'll build up along the way, because you do that and it's more sustainable, rather than getting to the top and being like, oh, heck, I can't actually breathe. I've been sick 3 times and there's no way I'm going to get down this mountain.
Yeah.
So let's go to base camp first, acclimatize, see how that feels, try it on. And that's also really beneficial, because sometimes we're actually striving towards something and then we get there and we don't actually like it, or we didn't want it as much as we thought we did. So if you acclimatize, you test it.
Yeah.
And then you can go, actually, wrong mountain. I'm going to go to Kilimanjaro. That's fine. Really at base camp. You can do that. You've not already got to the top. Great.
Yeah.
Go to a different mountain. All good. All good.
I think that some people don't think that they can just change in the middle of it. I think that's, and I wanted to ask you, like, as a psycho-spiritual coach, and you're in academia too, you do have a university.
I do.
Yes. But I wanted to ask you, like, as a coach, what types of questions are they asking to you for help with that maybe they can't see, but you can see?
Quite often it's either the default to how do I do this, which is a very human response. We always want to know the logistics and the how. And we can say a million times, well, the universe is the chief how officer. That's what I always say. And they're like, stop it. And I'm like, I know.
I love
Like,
that.
how is it yours? It's not our responsibility, but partly it is. So sometimes it is the logistics, but from that same vantage point, so from that same character, imagine, that character's now got the love of their life. What did they do? What did they do to get there? And you can do, countless exercises to help you with this. But imagining you're at that mountaintop, you've now climbed whatever mountain you've chosen to climb. What did you do to get there? Because when we look back on how we've achieved something, that's so much easier than when we're standing at the bottom of the mountain looking up and going, I don't know how this is going to go. So looking back, and if you do that either in a meditative state, or one of my favorite ways is actually just free writing and just seeing what comes through. Obviously, psychic abilities, I get downloads in different ways. So I will ask my guides, like, how did I do that if I did get to that point? There's countless ways that you can do it. So it's finding a way that works for you, but just asking better questions, I find helps.
Yeah.
So if you had a friend who had the love of her life, how did she meet them? And you'll probably be able to come up with something. But when you say, well, how am I going to find the love of my life? It's like, well, I don't know.
Oh, that's great.
Flip it. And all it is different perspectives. That's all it is perspective. And I think that's one of the main roles as a coach, is not necessarily to provide the answers, which sometimes people will come to me and want the answers because they want the psychic information. And I'm like, okay, well, I can give you psychic insights, but also I want to work on your perception, because that's going to serve you better long term.
Yeah.
And then you can actually see how having different perception, different lenses, or putting on different goggles, as I quite often say, to see different possibilities. At the most is, how am I going to do this? Or if they know they're having a nervous system response, like they're in fight, flight, freeze, fawn, whatever, and they're like, okay, well, how do I not default to this response, which is my go-to? And we'll just implement really small things where we don't activate it. So for myself, for example, flight is my favorite go-to nervous system response. And it almost used to be a little bit of a joke that I would always have enough money in my bank account for a long haul flight. Because if anything was happening in my life, my answer was to literally fly, and I would get on a flight. I'm out. I'm going. Any breakup, any job loss, anything. I was on a long haul flight and I was gone. So I would physically fly away from the situation. Classic avoidant style. So if you know like what your response is and what your go-to is, so either if you're fight, then you're going to start trying to do more and you're going to add more things to your plate and you're going to really try and fix it. Or if you're flight like me, then you will just avoid, abandon, forget it. I'm not playing. I'm not doing it. I'm out. So if you know what your response is, you can start to sit with it a little bit more every day. So if my go-to was, I'm literally going to get on a flight and leave, then I would try for a day. Can I not look at potential flights? Can I just sit with where I am and not look at my escape route for one day? Just one day. Can I do that?
That's part of the inner work, though.
Yeah. Starts to build that safety.
Yeah.
And for a lot of the people I work with, and I've had this said to me so many times, like if you're in business and you're not looking for a job every couple of weeks, then you're not entrepreneurial enough. I think that's hilarious. And every business owner I know, like we have those moments and we're like, I'm not doing it, I'm going to go get a job. And that's that flight response again. It's like, okay, I'm out, I'll just go work for someone else. That's easier. Fine.
Yeah.
So again, with that, can we just sit with our business for a day without looking, get that tunnel vision on, get that focus, and can we sit in the discomfort for a day?
I bet it dissipates. I bet after time you find that it dissipates quicker and quicker and quicker, that you don't have to sit with it as long.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. There's a really lovely like written exercise I do with my clients, and it's almost like writing a book chapter, or even just like the blurb on the back of a book. I'm like, okay, whatever like the scary thing is that's coming up now, pretend it's a book. What's your book called?
Oh my God.
The Nightmares of whatever. And I'm like, right, okay, what write the back cover. Let's write the description of it. And the more you read that description, slow it down as you read it, breathe as you read it, often that's enough and it'll just eradicate it.
Wow.
I love that, because those practices are, I mean, what you're sharing is, first off, when you were talking about like imagining it's your best, like a friend of yours meeting the love of her life, that it's like getting to that neutral point. So you're not attached to, because we can get in our way of, because we have our subconscious stories and programs that create the reality that we're experiencing. And so that can be hard to like go against that, because it's such a strong, like, set thing. But when you look at something as an observer, or as like from a neutral point, or from like 0 point, then there's more spaciousness, because it's like it allows us to play, which is something that in the last episode that we're talking about play a lot, because I feel that is the piece that like we need to access in order to be able to like co-create, is maybe another way of saying it, like co-create with the universe. I love what you're saying. Can you say it again? The universe is the chief
how officer.
Chief officer. It's amazing. That's so good.
I love that.
So
I gotta write that down.
I know, it's so good. And then what you're saying too about like, I mean, that's such a good practice, because then again, it's allowing like you're neutralizing in a way that that thing that feels like, oh, this is too much. And then, it's that like, it's like, well, can you be with the too much in a way that feels, then neutralizes it, so that it becomes not too much. I know there was a question that I was leading it.
Goal is to neutralize. That's if people who are listening take nothing away from today's conversation other than the fact we want to neutralize your goal, because that stops that pendulum swing. Because if you have the super high hysterical high, by law, by nature, at some point we're going to have the opposite. So we want to be in that gorgeous neutral kind of space. And I think that also takes the pressure off from like having to be really high vibe or be in a good mood all the time. Like that doesn't affect your frequency. Your frequency is you and your personality and your identity. Like your mood doesn't matter. You can be in the worst mood and you'll still manifest great things. It's about who you are inside. And, you know, that can be neutral and chill and, you know, perfect.
I love that. I wanted to talk to you about the witch wound.
Yes.
And what that has to do with manifesting and timeline jumping.
Yes.
And all of those good things.
All the fun stuff.
All the fun stuff. Tell us all the fun stuff.
The play in. Let's bring the play in. So the witch wound is something some listeners may have come across before. And if you struggle to listen to your own voice, or if you were doing something like this, like could you watch the recording or listen to the replay? Or if you're in business and you're doing like Facebook lives or Instagram lives, or you're doing reels and things, can you watch it back? Can you listen to yourself? Can you even record it in the first place? And these are all signals that there is something beneath the surface going on. So if you are someone who you're like, I absolutely like, I'll record something, but I am not going to listen to that back. That is because on an unconscious level, you can hear your own wounds beneath the surface. Or if you're watching yourself, you can see it. You can sometimes pick this up as well. So sometimes if I look back at like not baby pictures, but like young me pictures, like childhood pictures, I can see it. And it's just in like the body language and like the way I'm stood or whatever as a child. And I'm like, oh, that's so harsh to like see and like little me. But especially on recording, you can hear it and you can see it. So if you're listening to this and you're like, there's no way that I would listen to my own voice back, that's a sign that there's something there. But what the witch wound dominantly is, it's a visibility wound. It's a fear of being seen. It's a fear of being judged. Because if we think back to our ancestors during the witch trials and during that time in history, if you were a woman especially, but also it did apply to men, who was outspoken, who was helping her village and her community, who was being resourceful and making the most out of the plants and the herbs, and the witches back then, as they were classed, were midwives and medicine men and medicine women. And as a result of that, they lost their lives because they stood out, because they were the ones that were making a change and making a difference and helping people. So I see this day in, day out, because a lot of the women I work with are healers or spiritual business owners, and they carry that because they just want to help people, but they're scared of being seen doing it. Mm-hmm. But if you're running a business, of course we need to be seen doing it because we need our clients to see us and find us. But if we have this wound that it's not safe to be seen, because what if somebody says something, or somebody says something nasty or reports me? What happens then? Because we've already seen through epigenetics that we carry genetic trauma as well. Yeah. We can hold it for between 7 and 14 generations, which is a lot.
Oh, it's a lot.
we just like all collectively like,
yes, I felt that.
If you're over 35, if you're a spiritual business owner, and if you're a woman, then yay for us.
Yay for us.
That's hilarious.
Wow.
But the wonderful thing with it, I know it sounds like, oh, great, we're carrying our ancestors' trauma from 14 generations ago. But once we have an awareness that that's going on, and we can go, actually, it's nothing to do with me and my fear of Instagram. Like, we think that it's that, or we think that it's, well, what if I get a nasty comment? It's not about that. And once you actually detach from that and you see it for what it is, and then you can work on that part, connecting to your ancestors, using past life work, whatever kind of modality you feel called to, even just knowing that that's what it is. So even if you're listening to this podcast now and you go, I hate the sound of my own voice, but now I know what it is, it's nothing to do with me. Great.
Yes.
Sometimes that's enough. You don't necessarily need to do anything else, but just know it's not yours.
Yeah.
Not yours.
That's so fascinating because I never thought of it that way. And as you were speaking, I was like, oh my gosh, there was years ago, I hated hearing my voice. I hated hearing. And I'm like, oh, and then I was tracking it as you were speaking. I was like, oh yeah. And then I started working on my healing and was like clearing energy and like just clearing those things, not realizing that was going to affect that. I was doing it for other reasons. And now I'm like, oh yeah, that.
Yeah.
I don't have a fear. I don't mind listening to my own voice. I do listen to recordings. There's spaciousness in that. And like sometimes I'll listen to myself and it feels like what you were talking. Actually, it's funny because I noticed this the other day. I was listening to a recording because I was going to edit it. And then I was listening to it and there was I noticed myself having like not a detachment, but like it was observing. I was in the observer of like what you were speaking to before of like, again, that like having that neutral point or that 0 point of witnessing oneself. And I was just kind of like watching. I was like, oh wow, like look at her grow, or like look at like it was this funny like detachment thing that was happening. I'm like, and then I was aware that I was doing that. I was like, oh, this is a really funny experience about what's happening here. But I never thought of it through that lens of like that healing of the witch wound, because that is such a prevalent thing that I think it does very much. It's not just women who experience it. I think everyone does in many ways, because then also not only is it ancestral, but we also have different lives that we've experienced. And that's so funny.
Throw that in there as well.
Throw it in there.
Add that to the mix. Add
that to the salad.
To the salad. But hey, it can feel overwhelming, but what a beautiful time to be alive, because as you were saying too, is that there's so many different awareness is key. You have awareness. Okay, now this is not some like unseen thing that's affecting me. Now I can choose how to be with that. And also what you were sharing before around when it comes to like manifesting and stuff, and our fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, it is very much about like you know, for a person who's a fight. I was like, I think I'm a fight. I think my response is fight. And so I was like thinking about that. I was like, yeah, I was like, probably fight would be my response. Because I'm also a natural protector. I like automatically like my response is to like protection. So I was like, yeah, that's it. And then doing that would have been like the go-to like to do more.
Yeah.
And for people who are in that, you know, switching that like being. And I know like that's a thing that you like talk about also is just like, okay, but like instead of going into like the mentality of like do, like how can you be like being is really where it's at. Yeah. I know there's a question in there somewhere, but I lost it because I was really excited about what you're sharing.
I know. I loved it. Well, tell us a little bit about your university.
The university.
Yes.
So this is my baby.
Yeah.
My book used to be my baby, and now the university is my baby. So this was something that actually came to me while I was in the US, actually, funnily enough, only in December. And I had been to a big business event where, you know, we were thinking about our businesses and things. And I'd kind of gone to that event, not necessarily with an idea, but I wanted to get clear while I was there on what my next offer was going to be, because I'd kind of taken a little bit of a break after getting married, had like the nice honeymoon period. And then I'd gone like fully self-employed as well. So I was like, so what's it going to look like? Like what's coming next? And the event was fantastic. It was amazing, but nothing really kind of sparked while I was there. And I was like, oh, okay, let's see what happens. And then we went to Sedona for a couple of days. And it was in Sedona that I was just like, bam, 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 bam. Like I could see it and I could feel it and I could see it like 10, 20 years from now. And I was like, okay, that's massive. I was just thinking about my next offer.
Yeah.
And then you get this, no, you're going to have a whole institution. And then one day you're going to have bricks and mortar. And then it's going to be in different countries and people are going to have jackets. And okay, that's bigger than what I was, just my next offer for like, you know, the next 8 weeks or whatever. But okay, fine. So when I came back, I then put it towards like my existing clients and like shared it with them. And they just loved the idea. And I was like, I don't even know what it's going to look like at this point. I just know it's a university, and it kind of made sense because my background was in academia, in universities as a lecturer and an associate dean. So I was like, it makes sense. It's like part of who I am and what I love, just under my own rules rather than someone else's. So the way I described it then, and still do, to be fair, sometimes, is like it's a sexy Hogwarts for grown-ups who want to mix like magic with personal development. So that was kind of like the vision that came through. And then I officially launched it in March. And we're just now getting ready for the second intake coming in, which is gorgeous.
That sounds amazing.
It's so beautiful. And it's basically got a culmination of everything that I've done over the last 6 years. Like that's all available to everyone that's in there. But then we're currently shaping it as we go, which is really beautiful. So my quantum alchemy method is what underpins all of it. That's like what we've been talking about this evening. So the mind, body, and the spiritual stuff all together. But then it's kind of broken down into like your 12-week terms, I guess, like you would have in an actual university. So every 12 weeks, you're either having coaching on whatever it is that life is presenting to you at the time, or you're having a rest period where you can enjoy content that's already there, go on holiday, live your life, do what you want to do, but you've got that community there for you. Or we're focused on something in particular. So business is going to be coming up, but bringing magic and fun play stuff into business, and relationships is going to be coming up as well. So we'll then have like almost like little micro programs within the university, but that's just the focus for each term.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Does that start soon?
Yeah. So when's the next new moon? It's the full moon this weekend, isn't it? So the next newbies will be in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I love that.
Super exciting. But what I'm going to do a little bit differently is every new moon, the newbies can join us. So you're not having to wait like
the 12 weeks.
Yeah. Because even though like 12 weeks like can go in the blink of an eye, I know when people are kind of waiting and they're like, but I want to be in there now, or like they need something in that moment. I don't want to be like, no, sorry, you have to wait 12 weeks.
Oh no.
So yeah, and also to save myself like launching every quarter, like we can just have it every new moon. We have a welcome call for the new people coming in, and yeah, you're welcome to join at any new moon.
Oh, well, one last question before we go. So, if one listener walked away changed after hearing this episode, what would you hope they receive?
Oh, whatever their heart needed, and just something that reminds them that one, they're not alone in any of this, and no matter what, I don't even want to say the word level, but no matter where you're at, that you're not on your own with it, and there's, you know, pathways that are sent to bring us lessons and blessings, and you're right where you're meant to be. But also just know that one decision can change everything. Just one.
Beautiful.
That's why you timeline jump. Just one decision will change your timeline.
Whoa.
And the timeline you want might only be 3 timelines away. So just one decision today can change everything.
I'm getting chills. I don't know about you, but you. That's so beautiful. Thank you, Victoria. Or Vix Marie.
My old fit you guys. It feels like my younger self.
It does. It feels sassy.
She does feel sassy. I feel like she's been sitting here with us the whole time.
Yes, she will have been. Yes, the little younger, minxier self.
Yeah.
Oh. And how can people get in touch with you? Yeah.
So I am on all the social platforms. You will mainly catch me on Instagram, but yeah, all the socials you can get me under the Manifestation Witch or Victoria Quance.
This has been great. I love it.
Gorgeous. Thank you so much for having me. I've loved it.
This was such a
beautiful.
This was great. This was so much fun, and we'll have your details on the caption or the show notes. I think is what it's called.
Yeah,
below, so people can see that as well.
Amazing.
Yes.
Thank you.
And you can reach us at Daughters of the Milky Way on Instagram. And Natalie, where can people reach you for emotion code or?
Oh yeah. So I'm attending your spirit. Oh yeah, I do stuff.
Yeah, you do stuff.
I'm sorry, I was just so deep into this conversation. But right, yes. So yeah, you can find me tending your spirit on Instagram and tendingyourspirit.com. And if you want to book a session, heal.me/tending your spirit. Also, we'll put that in the show notes as well. And yeah, this was such a great, beautiful conversation, Victoria. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
We're very glad the way that this all turned out, and just perfection,
beautiful,
divine timing, and all those things. And love that you have rolling enrollment. I think is what you would call it for your school.
Yeah,
and the timing with the moon, just excellent.
Yes, of course, always with the moon.
The cherry on top.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Until next time, everybody.
Yes.
Bye.